Hello, welcome to the channel. I'm James and this is Nerd Topic. So today's going to be my first proper video and I will be starting my sort of discussion style videos, and I'll be talking about episode 1 of The Bad Batch. Now I know this came out a long time ago, but I wanted to start doing discussion videos for The Bad Batch, and I thought that just starting on episode 10, which it currently is on, wouldn't make sense without hearing my thoughts and opinions on the previous episodes. So I'm going to be going through 1 to 10 quite quickly to try and catch up to episode 11 within this coming week, and then from then, yeah, I will be doing them weekly, talking about my what I thought about the episode and then my theories for future episodes. So I hope you enjoy this sort of discussion style video. So let's get right into it. Episode 1, sort of like my notes. So if you see me looking down, that's all I'm looking at, just to bring up my points. So episode 1 was titled Aftermath and was the hour-long premiere that came out on May the 4th. This was for the longest time the best episode in the series. I guess it gained the advantage of being an hour long, being able to tell more story. So the first point I wanted to bring up was it was the last time we see the sort of Clone Wars style intro with the voiceover, and I guess that makes sense because it kind of symbolises the end of the Clone Wars, as we see in this episode, as it also ties in with Revenge of the Sith, just how the season 7 Siege of Mandalore arc did. So we see Clone Force 99 helping the clones out, and then Order 66 is declared, which we see the batch doesn't follow, which was a question we had for a while watching season 7 back like a year ago. Would the batch follow it? Now obviously the interesting part was Crosshair did indeed have sort of control from the chip, and he did sort of loosely follow Order 66, shooting at Caleb Dune, which is obviously a young Kanan Jarrus who we later see in Star Wars Rebels, which was really cool to see. So it was very interesting with Crosshair having one of the members turn, I guess, bad, since, you know, I think especially because he's my favourite character, it was kind of cool to see him, and it was kind of cool to see him maybe like be opposing the batch. At the same time, I kind of wanted the show to, at least for like, if they were going to go that route, I kind of wish they started the whole batch together for a bit longer, because I liked Crosshair just in his Republic sort of outfit, armor, and just how he was before the chip sort of took over. Because as we see in a later scene, it really shows how the chip just took away the personalities and the liveliness of the clones, just turned them into mindless soldiers working for the Empire. So then after that, we see the batch return to Kamino, quite confused, but we also see Crosshair questioning Hunter's decision on if he killed Caleb or not. And this is obviously due to Order 66 taking over him. He sort of lost his humanity and his sort of defect of not usually following orders, but now he is. And he's sort of going against the others' decisions, as we see this later throughout, constantly questions and challenges their decisions. So then that sort of leads into the group going to Palpatine's speech in this sort of like large hall area, all the regs lined up, and it's cool to see them like stand out against them with their like black or like dark grey, red colour scheme. Also shows like how, because they don't follow it, well, besides Crosshair, like they just stand out from the other clones. This is Palpatine's speech taken from Revenge of the Sith, which was another really cool tie-in. This is also where Hunter sort of notices Omega. This is where the first time you see Omega. So yeah, and then like I said, it shows when he declares the Empire to have been created, the clones start cheering, and it sort of shows the humanity has been wiped away from the clones, as well as throughout the Clone Wars we saw, especially with Phase 2 clones, a lot of them had custom unique markings to differ them from one another, to show that they wanted to be different despite being clones. But in this scene they're just all pure white, no unique markings, colours or anything. So yeah, again, another thing that shows, another cool thing that visually shows that they have lost their humanity, and that the Empire is just sort of, I don't know, taken away that from them, which is quite sad, especially the clones being some of my favourite characters, and definitely after Clone Wars becoming some quite interesting characters like Rex is definitely one of my favourites, and I know he is a fan favourite throughout. But yeah, then after this, when the batch start heading back, they meet Omega properly for the first time, and sort of then after that, it's sort of they go into the mess hall, which is where they're eating, and Omega sits with them, and they're quite confused because they don't usually have people sat with them, and she says they don't fit in just like she doesn't. So this is our first like sort of hint towards her maybe being a clone, or we don't know yet, because it's just obviously interesting because we wouldn't imagine a clone being a female since Django was a male. And as far as we knew, it was very rare, or I don't know, difficult to maybe make a female. So we wasn't sure exactly what she was like, or who she was, or what was special about her. So that was definitely a cool thing that we sort of learned a bit more throughout as the episodes have gone on. And then the cool thing was during this mess hall, they start a fight, and Tarkin oversees it. So he's from Clone Wars and he's in A New Hope and Rogue One, and he oversees it. And obviously this is like, he then was like, he wants to see the batch in action since they sort of start this fight, and he wants to see their worth, if they are worth anything to the Empire. But during this fight in the mess hall, Echo is knocked out and taken to a med bay. We see that he's being scanned, but then he quickly like bats away the machines. I think this is a cool subtle thing showing like his PTSD of being hooked up to machines and stuff from his damage that he sustained on when he went to the Citadel mission and he got blown up with the ship, and then the damage he sustained from that, being turned into a cyborg by the Techno Union, becoming this cyborg, taking away his humanity in a way, but he still has personality, it's a lot more dull. So yeah, when he like rescued from Skako Minor, we see the full extent of the damage. He's got a cybernetic arm, implants on his head, in his chest. It's quite creepy looking and dark, and we see him just batting the way that just symbolises his PTSD of like, I don't know, what I wrote down here was his trauma and his experiences of being hooked up to machines and turned into this like cyborg. But it's interesting because Omega brings up a point, she doesn't like being hooked up to the machines either, which is another point that makes us question, is she a clone then? Or is she some sort of other experiment? Which again, is cool that we see get explained a tiny bit throughout the show as it goes on. So continued from that scene, the Batch find out that they are possibly in trouble and need to go to the Prime Minister after starting the fight in the mess hall, but they soon discover that they were called on by Tarkin to show off their skills in combat in a training sort of zone. And so the Batch are tested, and they take out these like sort of drones quite easily, because obviously it's the Bad Batch. Crosshairs up top with the sniper, takes out the turrets. Wrecker gets impatient, but he takes out the others. But it's quite cool to see them in action again. I mean, it's always cool to see them in action because of how they differ from other characters and other clones we've seen, being the defects they are. They don't follow traditional orders and protocols. So then, as they sort of take them droids out too easily, Tarkin sort of sends out these other droids, which are sort of like, they look like early versions of the Dark Troopers, which we saw in The Mandalorian, and they're shown to be a lot more tougher. But then also we see Tarkin has switched to live rounds, which obviously becomes a lot more dangerous for the Batch then. This is to, I guess, truly test them on their skills. So Wrecker ends up being shot, but they manage to work around it. They use their unique skills to figure it out. So Tech and like Echo sort of hack into one, or Tech Echo hacks into one. Like Echo uses a screwdriver hand to like cut one's neck in, and then obviously like Tech controls it, shoots the other ones since their guns were only given stun. So it was cool to see them like think on the spot. But it just shows how they do differ again from Regs. And then it was cool to see the final move of sort of Hunter pulling out his giant knife and then sort of Crosser shooting it, turning it into like an electric knife into the head of the final one. So after this, so Tarkin is impressed by this, and he believes that there is a place for them in the Empire if they prove themselves with this final mission. So Tarkin sends the batch to Onderon to wipe out some separatist scheming against the Empire, is what he tells them. But before they go, Omega warns Hunter that Tarkin has it out for them and he's setting them up, but Hunter doesn't really listen too much, and he's like, it's fine, we're used to being hated by everyone. So they go to Onderon, and then when they get to Onderon, they find out the people they were sent to kill weren't actually separatists, but were Republic refugees, sort of the early versions of the rebellion, led by Saw Gerrera, which was really cool to see Saw again. I mean, he first turned up in Clone Wars, was in Rebels, was in Jedi Fallen Order. He's quite a cool character. Oh, and Rogue One, where he dies. He's quite a cool character, especially to see him through different media, and obviously like where his place is in this like early versions of the rebellion. So yeah, Hunter decides not to kill them innocents, while Crosshair was very advocate to kill them following his orders still, as his inhibitor chip is still activated. As you know, Hunter didn't want to kill innocents, and they were lied to. They were told they were separatists, but instead they were actually displaced Republic soldiers and families who obviously, since the Republic was disbanded to create the Empire, have obviously been left without home, and it would make sense for them to join the early versions of the rebellion. So then we see their talk with Saw Gerrera, and we bring up the point of Anakin and Rex, which was from an arc in the Clone Wars, which was a cool little reference. And it was cool to see Saw sort of influence the batch to not join the Empire and to make a name for themselves, to sort of fight the good fight. Sort of, what does he say? Either adapt and survive or die with the past, which was a cool quote. And you know, it truly shows the batch, you know, it sort of shows their turning point of like, right, we're not going to join the Empire, we're going to sort of fight for ourselves. Or since they don't necessarily know if to join the sort of rebellion yet, so they want to stick on their own but not join the Empire. So it was cool to see sort of Saw influence that decision. But so as they go back, they are spied on by an Imperial probe droid, which Tarkin is obviously using to spy on them. As they head back, Crosshair calls out Hunter again, going against all his decisions, saying all his decisions have been bad, that he should be following orders, but Hunter's like, we don't usually follow orders, so what's wrong with you? Why are you... Because I guess they don't fully understand his inhibitor chip's activated yet. This is where we learn Tech says that Omega is said to be a defect or a modified clone as well, so she's said to be the fifth defected sort of modified clone besides Wrecker, Crosshair, Tech and Hunter. So Hunter decides to go back and get her, as he believes she's part of the squad. So when they arrive back to Kamino to get Omega, they are thrown in the brig where Omega is, and Crosshair continues to question the others. This is sort of the final time where he does it, where he's like, every choice you have made is wrong, we should have been following orders, we wouldn't be here otherwise. And we sort of see Echo's like, basically like, shut up Crosshair, like, we've done nothing wrong, we're doing what we think is right. And Omega ends up in the brig as well, for snooping around, and obviously the group are in the brig for defying orders. But then Crosshair is taken from the brig, and since Tarkin saw that he was loosely following orders still, and he asks the Kaminoans if they can sort of enhance his command, his sort of inhibitor chip, to sort of make Order 66 stronger in his head, so he straight up follows it. It's not loosely anymore, it's straight up, he's against the batch, so that it's enhanced. And then from this, the batch escape with Tech sort of using his knowledge of the facility, and then getting Omega to sort of sneak through, getting Wrecker to punch a hole in the wall, and then sort of getting Omega to sneak through the wall, drop down, open the control panels. It feels cool to sort of see this out, what we come to know as the group for future episodes. The first time to sort of use all their brains, or like they all come together and escape. So they head to their ship to get their armor, which was confiscated from their room, and they suit up. But as they're about to leave, go find Crosshair. Crosshair comes out in his Imperial armor, commanding clones, which was an interesting thing, because in season 7 he spoke about how they don't usually work with regs, sort of had this idea, disdain for regs, and now he's commanding them, but obviously it just shows he's not in control. It shows his personality is not at the forefront. So a firefight starts between them, and it ends with Wrecker getting shot again, and Omega, then it ends with Omega shooting across his sniper out of his hands, which was kind of where we thought, okay, maybe she is enhanced with maybe some of the Batch's abilities, so obviously this might be Crosshair's marksman skills. I guess we haven't brought too much upon that since then, but I think it just shows like she's able to pick up things fast. And then from there the Batch escape, and since they now have fewer people to trust with this Empire around and they don't know where to go, they decide that they have a contact they should go meet. So this is where we were left on our first cliffhanger on who it was. And so yeah, that was the first episode, and like I said, it's very strong first episode, very cool to sort of set the scene, and it was also just cool to see this time period. We've never seen straight after Revenge of the Sith the birth of the Empire. I'm sure we have it in like comics or books and stuff, but not in sort of this widespread of live action, well not live action but animation, this sort of visual storytelling. So again, that's a cool thing. So that was, I guess, what I would do in future episodes. When it's current episodes, I will do my theory videos, but obviously I can't really do that of what I think will happen next, since, you know, episode 2 to 10 is already out. So that's today's video. I hope you enjoyed these sort of discussion style videos. I hope to do more. Like I said, I'll be doing them for 2 to 10 and then from 11 onwards. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, if I can improve anything, the flow, if I can sort of work on maybe getting a proper script instead of notes. I don't know, let me know what you think. So I would appreciate if you subscribed, liked, but thank you for watching. This has been Nerd Topic, and I've been James. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.